Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Holiday. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is finally Thursday, March 27th, 2025. It's opening day, baby. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Holiday, it would feel so right. I love opening day. I do. It's the hope. Never going to lose this year. I got my best pitcher on the mound who's not named Mark Hendrickson. I miss you, Mark. You know I'm just kidding. I believe in this team. I believe in my community. They're going to come out and support. I'm going to walk around and say hi to every one of our employees. Thank them for the work they did preparing us, because it's not just the players and the staff on the field who are circling and waiting for March 27th. It's people in marketing and sales and finance and HR. It's everybody. No matter how little connectivity you have to Griffin Conine. Congrats, Griff. Hope to see you in the starting lineup and taking Paul Skenes deep today. Actually, be like your dad. Get on with a gapper, then get driven in. It's just such a day where nothing bad happens. Now, you could run out of hot dogs, if you know, you know. It could rain inside a roof, if you know, you know. You could have someone go down with an injury, lack of performance. Everything could go to absolute crap, but not until after you do your pregame ceremonies. You get to walk out, take photos of an empty stadium before the gates open. Then you watch as people come in with that renewed sense of, we don't trust you, we don't like you, our team stinks, you didn't sign anyone, but hey, you never know. That's the whole thing about the holiday of opening day. What other day of the year is it? So I was thinking about that fact, and I came up with one. The one I came up with is the day that March Madness starts with the NCAA tournament, because tonight is the Sweet 16. When that tournament starts and you're at 68 teams, you got 68 teams saying, hey, you never know what could happen. But generally, opening day of baseball has this different view, different feel, because you know it's like when you start a marathon. For those of you who've run a marathon, you can absolutely appreciate what's in my head right now. But luckily for you, I'm going to articulate it. When you start a marathon and you're in your corral and the starting gun goes off and you start moving slowly because you're packed with people that smell like balm, icy hot, and you know that something's going to go wrong, but you don't know what it is. Because in a marathon, you can't prep for what's going to go wrong. You practice for things that you can guess could happen. You get a tweak in the knee, all of a sudden your hammy hurts, you get a stitch, you get hungry, thirsty, you get chafed, need salt, but always something else happens. I did the Ironman in Hawaii in 2006. I practiced for everything. For 1 year, I trained. It's a 2.4-mile swim and then a 112-mile bike, and then you run a marathon all in one day, surrounded by all these amazing athletes who qualified, and I was just there because I was a team president, and no other team president would be stupid enough to do an Ironman. Brought in tons of family and friends. Everyone's watching. I'm getting ready to get in the water, and my goggles broke. Never happened once in training, ever. And I said, all right, that's going to be the problem with the race. finish the swim, get out of the water, get checked by the doctor. I'm bleeding because I got bitten on my crotch during the swim in the ocean. I said, all right, now nothing else could happen. Going 5 miles an hour downhill into the wind. That's got to be the last one. Baseball's just like that. You're starting a 162 game slog. People say, let's shorten the season. I agree. Let's make it buck 54. But that's the same type of marathon. And you've pictured all off season how it's going to go down. You've visualized each game, each series, each trip. You've broken down your team and your depth. Totally focused. And then you get a call in the second inning of opening day that a pitcher's arm is hurt. But before those calls come, my God, do I love the holiday of opening day. I bring out the ring on opening day. I bring it out during the World Series and playoffs as well. And an occasional bar mitzvah. But the reason I like wearing the ring, and this is one of the cool rings, if you're watching this on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, you're seeing the Marlins ring from 03. This is called a watch ring because we were into watches. And our owner, Jeffrey Loria, made us. There's like 8 of these around. The top of the ring, Coca, comes off. And there's a clock underneath the ring. If you're listening to this, you can't picture at all what I'm saying, but picture like Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, all of a sudden the face is off. And it says, with appreciation, Jeffrey Loria. That's the kind of gift that keeps on giving. I wear it because, and I wore it every opening day after 03 for the next 14 opening days that I was with the team, because I wanted the players to understand that at the end of this marathon, there is a chance of something spectacular. Let's enjoy the journey, but never lose sight of the destination. Let's enjoy the process of opening day, but don't forget the importance of winning the game. It's so important in this era where people are not all that interested in winning. They're interested in participation only. When you are in professional sports, when you are the New York Yankees who face off against the Brewers to start the season at 3 o'clock today, and you can catch that game on ESPN, when you are getting ready for that game and you're the Yankees, you're thinking to yourself, do we have our best players ready to go? Are we starting with the excuse that, oh, we don't have Garrett Cole, Stanton's not in the lineup, Judge didn't hit well during spring training? You don't. It's the weirdest thing. It happens game 2. It never happens game 1. Game 1, that lineup is out there, and you're saying to yourself in your head, this is my team. This is the team that can do it. And then all of a sudden the game starts and you realize, wait a minute, we have no hitting. It's really quite an unbelievable thing that happens on opening day. And it happens for fans too. I'll be watching the Yankees and Brewers starting at 3. I'm excited to see Juan Soto's debut, see how he does with the Mets. They're playing the Astros with Altuve in left field and Tucker on the Cubs, Bregman on the Red Sox. I do want to watch the Red Sox also. I want to watch Crochet. This is going to happen to me, Coke, and I just know it. I'm going to be excited come 7 o'clock because I'm going to focus on Skubal and Snell, Tigers, Dodgers. But until then, there's going to be so many games on, and this happens in baseball, that I'm just watching every part of every game. I'll have 2 devices on my lap, TV on. I'm all in. The other thing about opening day that I always enjoy, and as a president, I focused on this probably more than I should. The commissioner of baseball goes on a media tour. And I was always interested to hear what Bud Selig had to say and later what Rob Manfred would have to say, only because I would get to match it versus what was real and what was said during owners' meetings or private conversations with the commissioner. And I always was interested, before Nothing Personal even, maybe Coca, that is the provenance of Nothing Personal and what we do here, because I would always compare in those days what I knew to be true versus what was being said to the public and why it was being said the way it was being said. And I would spend time thinking about it. And I would say to myself, does the public receive these statements in the way they're intended? So Rob Manfred did a bunch of interviews, and the way that works, just Side note, the way it works is Pat Courtney, the fantastic right hand of Rob Manfred, and he did the same thing with Bud Selig, just a terrific PR person. He has a list that, of course, does not include Dan Le Batard, but it should. A list of who do I sit with day one in order to allow the message that I need to get out. Who's going to ask me the questions that I am ready and need and want to answer? And what do you think the topics are that anyone in the media, whether it's Mad Dog Russo, whether it's Colin, whoever it is, what do you think that are the top subjects? Well, if you heard the show yesterday, you heard me talk to you about storylines to watch. The main thing asked is, let's talk about Ohtani and the Dodgers, and let's talk about, is Ohtani and his stardom and the unicorn nature of that stardom and the popularity of baseball in Asia and the payroll disparity between the Dodgers and the Marlins, how does that play? And he had his talking points nailed. He bridged it. Rob Manfred did, talking to Mad Dog, and said, listen, I was over there in Japan watching Ohtani, and I walked over. I wanted to see the retail store, which set records during the opening series in Tokyo. And these people were online for 90 minutes before the store even stopped, like we were at Abercrombie and Fitch, and there were a line of models waiting to get in. He realizes that his best chance, given all of the unrest that owners have amongst each other, given the articles that are being written, including in Sports Business Journal by a former NBA executive, head of operations, Joe Litvin, who wrote an editorial saying baseball has got to get a cap and a floor. They've got to find a way to lessen the payroll disparity in order to achieve the right type of competitive balance. We've gone over what the union is promulgating. We've gone over what baseball's message points are. It is so important for Rob, the commissioner, to be out front facing to the public and say, the other teams are very understanding of why the Dodgers would go to Japan 2 years in a row. They understand that Ohtani is this type of unicorn. They understand the fiscal responsibility that we have in the commissioner's office, because that is a way that we funnel money down to other teams. So there is not jealousy over the Dodgers going to Tokyo. There's not jealousy over the way we promote Ohtani. Of course, every team would like to have the face of baseball on its team. But at the end of the day, having the face of baseball is less relevant, truly, fiscally, emotionally, than winning the ring. So the focus needs to be on everyone gets a chance to win a ring. You want to make it so teams are differentiated by quality of front office, by quality of scouting, development, systems, processes. You can't have a sport where opening day, the holiday, is a holiday like what the Rockies and the Marlins and the White Sox have this year. If you have too many teams where their holiday is colored by lack of even rational hope, you do that with too many of your franchises, and you're going to have a problem. The other thing that the commissioner had to make sure that the public understood is that he's not sweating. He actually would get in front of the media and raise his hand because he was sure. And what he was sure about is that the relationship between baseball and ESPN was a toxic relationship. However, we're excited that ESPN is willing to be such a good partner for one more year, and that Carl Ravitch is sent out to talk about how much baseball is loved by ESPN and how seriously they're all going to take it as they try to promote the game. But what Rob needed to show to the other media partners negotiating with baseball as we talk and as you chat on the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel, which you've subscribed to, is that Rob is going to be, along with baseball, a really good media partner. That he is not going to MF a media partner. Because what happened with ESPN and saying that they're a shrinking platform and all the things that made Jimmy Pitaro angry and sweat and nervous and forced to respond, Other media partners don't want to see that because they don't want it to be them. It's such an important thing in your business and in your life. It's such an important life lesson to me that when you do something, you have to recognize that the person you're doing it to is not the total audience. It's the people watching what you're doing to the other person who say to themselves, I'm super happy it's not happening to me today, but it certainly looks like this person has the capability to do it because I'm watching it happen, and tomorrow it may be me. And so when you're talking to the media, when you're doing shows every day, when you're living your life with however big your platform is, including just the size of your dinner table, don't forget that. Rob Manfred never does. The last thing that Rob had to accomplish when talking to the media on this tour is he had to make it very clear to all of the possible expansion cities that Tampa Bay is not relocating. He had to pretend that the Aths are taken care of in Sacramento for 3 years and that Vegas is going to be fine, because if they're not, you worry about that another day. You do not worry about that opening day. And with the Rays starting in Steinbrenner Field, the Rays have taken careful pain in order to send out and tweet pictures of the transformation of their minor league stadium. And they needed the commissioner to come out and say, Tampa Bay is a major league market. We're going to find a way to make it work. He had to double down, because what you don't want are cities like Portland to stop working on and releasing renderings. You don't want cities like San Antonio, Montreal, Nashville, Vancouver. Pick your city. You don't want them for a minute thinking that they are not trying to put together an expansion proposal versus a relocation proposal. Relocation proposals are far less costly than expansion proposals, and baseball needs to make sure there is a big market for these expansion proposals. So Rob hit the highlights. He got it done. Let's talk about win totals, because I'm obsessed with them. Win totals are what DraftKings comes out with. It's like a futures bet. You can say, hey, the Dodgers over-under is 103.5. That means that you're betting, if you bet the over, that the Dodgers are going to win 104 games and only lose 58. 104 and 58 seems like a hell of a good season, doesn't it? Can you imagine going about 2 straight months and saying the Dodgers lost every single game? It seems almost impossible to me. But these are futures bets, and we want to do a wait to see. Wait to see is when we tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. We're going to do 6 teams, and we're going to do it as a wait to see that will then appear on the davidsamsonpodcast.com website. There's no the. I don't know why I said that. So edit that out, please, Coca. We don't want to confuse people. 4869. On davidsamsonpodcast.com, you will find a document that has all of our wait to sees from every show we do. The Dodgers are at 103.5. Guess what? We're going to lay the 125 and take the over. If you think the Dodgers aren't going to win 104 games, you're not paying attention. And I don't care about Buster Posey. It doesn't really impact me that they're trying to do it for Peter Seidler again in San Diego. I really have no huge thought that the Diamondbacks, while I think they're going to be great, I really do, and you heard me tell you yesterday that they are, I do not see them as in any way impeding the Dodgers, especially with the now balanced schedule. There's enough teams. Think about this. The Dodgers get to play the White Sox, the Rockies, and the Marlins. We're taking the Dodgers over 103.5. Now, the Diamondbacks are in that same division. Their over-under is 86.5. You're laying 120, and I am all in on the Diamondbacks over. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen, Fott, no Jordan Montgomery, Corbin Carroll with a chance to recover from his sophomore slump and get back to who he was as a freshman player, a rookie. The Diamondbacks are good. We're going over, Coca, 86.5. Let's talk about another National League team that Coca loves so much, the New York Metropolitans. Their over-under is 90.5. That means that you have to assume they're going to go 91 and 71. Now, coincidentally, 91 and 71 is the exact record that we had in 2003 before we went on to win the World Series. I can tell you that 91 and 71 is a hell of a good season, and you've got to be HOTT to finish 20 games over 500. We're only going to lay 110, and we're going under 90 and a half. I don't think that the Mets, with their rotation issues, they've got injuries with Minaya and Montas. It is true that they did bring Alonso back. They still have perennial MVP candidate Lindor at shortstop. I just do not see the ability of that team to win 91 games. So we're going under with the Mets. Let's go to the American League cross town, and let's go to the Yankees. The Yankees over-under is actually 89 and a half. You don't have to lay any odds. You're going to get plus 100, so it's even. What do you want to do? Over or under if you're the Yankees? Do you see the Yankees being a 90-win team? Well, you know where I'm headed because I don't see the Yankees playing in October, which means I'm going UNDER, under. Yankees under 89 and a half. Let's stay now in the American League, and let's talk about what's going on the north side. No, I'm not going to talk about the Cubs. I'm excited to watch the Cubs. Sorry, Greg. I'm talking about the Southsiders. I'm talking about the White Sox. I'm talking about a team that has a historic over-under, 53 and a half. There hasn't been a total that low in about 3.5 decades. That's almost 2 score. We're almost halfway to 4 score. And then if we do another 7 years, you've got yourself a speech. 53 and a half? You can't possibly go under that unless you're me. And unless you realize that it's possible that the White Sox will have one of the best improvements in the game because they lost 121 games last year, and they'll still go under 53 and a half. You bet your sweet bippy. They won 41 games last year, and their team is worse. I don't even know how that's possible that you can get worse from a 41-game team. This team could win in the 30s, which in baseball is impossible. It's like scoring 100 points in a basketball game. It can't be done. How many percentage of the audience, Coca, didn't follow that and the humor of what I just said because it could be done one time? Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points. Pablo Torre, find out. The White Sox winning in the 30s? Maybe one time in the history of baseball? All right, let's talk about the Sacramento Aths. You'll hear me say it because it's hard to say Ath when you're on TV on the DraftKings network because you're not allowed to say A double dollar signs. So you say Aths. That's actually going to be in the box score when Sacramento plays because you can't call them the Sacramento A's. You can't call them the Vegas A's. They're certainly not the Oakland A's. So it's going to be the Aths. So I'm going to have to say Ath all the time, and I'm going to have to really practice my enunciation right from the diaphragm so I don't end up saying ass. Ath. Their over-under is 71 and a half. If you listen to yesterday's show, Mark Kotsay is going to win AL Manager of the Year. That's a bold prediction, CBS. That means they've got to win more than 71 and a half games, and they will. The Sacramento Aths over 71 and a half. Those are your 6 win totals for the 2025 Major League Baseball season. And now we have an opportunity for me to say to Coca, play that music.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson? What better thing to do on a holiday than get half-baked and watch the movie and find a character named Samson and go talk to him? You can find me at David P. Samson on X, Instagram, davidsamsonpodcast.com, or you can just find me on the street and say, hey, I want to talk to you without coming within 6 inches of me, of course. David, hello. Hello. You have told the Hanley Jose story before. Do you think Devers and Bregman will have the same problem? Do you blame the players when it doesn't work out for the team? Ooh. You my friend. Well, I don't know who you are, so you're not my friend. You, my acquaintance. Well, you're not even an acquaintance. You, my total strange internet person that thinks they know me but don't. I love that question. Yes, I've told the Hanley Jose story. We signed Jose Reyes to a free agent deal in 2012. We asked our shortstop, Hanley Ramirez, who was an all-world shortstop, hey, do you mind playing third base as we open this new stadium with Ozzie Guillen and huge expectations? Hanley Ramirez said, of course I don't mind. I'd be happy to do anything you want, David, because I love you and I don't care about myself. And then all of a sudden, it was all a lie. They didn't get along at all. And it was one of the things. Well, Keith Bell was the major thing. But other than that, that did not help us. Sound familiar? Alex Bregman signs with the Red Sox with a pillow 3-year, $120 million opt-out full deal. And Rafael Devers, who had just signed a huge contract because the Red Sox were pressured into signing him because they had let Mookie Betts go. And so they said, hey, we don't want our fans to hate us. We want Fenway Sports Group to be valuable and ever increasing in its love and attentiveness toward fans. We'll sign Devers. Devers is a third baseman who puts the M in mediocre. So the Red Sox said, I think we're better off trying to win. And the best way to win is let's get the best player we can, which ended up being Alex Bregman. In order to extract the maximum value from a Gold Glove third baseman, one of the things you're taught in President's School of a Major League Baseball team is when you've got a Gold Glove third baseman, why not play him at third base? By the way, remember the whole A-Rod Derek thing? Hey, I'm a shortstop. Remember what A-Rod did? Do people remember what a great shortstop A-Rod was when he came to the Yankees? Oh, no, can't play shortstop there. We got El Capitano. Devers comes out totally pro team saying, I will not ever leave my station at third base. We rolled our eyes on nothing personal because there's nothing less intoxicating. There's nothing less truthful than a player telling you where he will or won't play. Because I've got a surprise for you. You're not going to believe this. This isn't really a power play, but players don't get to choose where they play or where they hit in the lineup. Sometimes either to managers, but I digress. So the Red Sox said, thank you so much for going public with that, Mr. Devers, but I have an idea. How about if you become our full-time DH? And while you're at it, why don't you go public and say, you know what? I'm going to walk back what I said. I want to be a team player. Then when we announce the fact that Bregman is going to play third base every day and you're going to DH every day, why don't you come out again and say, this is really going to make our team the best it can be? That would be truly special, Mr. Devers. So Alex Cora announced yesterday that Devers will be the full-time DH, that Bregman will be the everyday third baseman. And then Alex Cora told you how the process went. He said that they talked about it all spring training. Obviously, Devers was vocal about how he felt, but we made a decision because, quote, we all are in the winning business. And Devers understands that. It made me smile. I like it when managers talk that way because let the team president say we're in the memory making business. We're in the entertainment business. That's what we say when we think we're not going to win. That's what we say when we try to excuse the losing that we know is coming over the course of the next 162 pain-filled, pleasure-seeking days. I want the manager to get it out there to his players every moment. Team meeting, behind the cage, in the dugout before the game, during the game, in the office after the game. When you're in your skivvies in the food room as the manager, wearing only your undies. I want everyone to know that you're interested in one thing. That's it. The politics of the clubhouse don't care. The personalities in the clubhouse don't care. Managing the cliques in the clubhouse don't care. You're in the winning business. That's what we are as a team. And we get judged every day. We either win or we lose. I'll tell you, you're asking me whether I blame players when it doesn't work out for the team. You think I blame myself? We start with players, move on to coaches, head up to managers. If that doesn't work, fire the general manager. But you can bet your sweet bipsters that I'm not going to blame me. Players are the easiest people to blame. If the Red Sox go south and don't win the pennant and lose to the Dodgers in the World Series, don't win the American League East, and Devers has a terrible season because he's pouting, and Bregman turns out to not adjust to Boston, and Crochet, who pitches today in his debut for the Red Sox against the Texas Rangers, world champions from only 2 seasons ago. If all that starts going south and they become in the losing business, you'll see the players blamed. All right, Coco, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it is oh, God, it is a holiday, opening day, and it's Thursday. Dream. I get to review one of my top 100. It's actually a serious movie, so I should be very serious as we head to break. After the break, we're going to review a very important movie from 1984 that I'm going to ask you all to watch. And then we're going to get to talk about the Boston Celtics because something's going on in Beantown that may interest you. We'll be back in a minute. What's funny, Coca, is I have no idea whether we were back in a minute or in 10 seconds, but thank you for sticking around to our daily show of what's now 50 minutes and what in the future may be more, because I'm tired of not getting to the subjects I want to get to every day. Thank you for your loyalty. Please spread the word. Tell your friends. And when you're on DraftKings, make sure that you make a note to anybody. Hey, I'm only here because of nothing personal. Doing this review on Thursday of my top 100 movies found on davidsamsonpodcast.com, I know that there are going to be movies on the list that are on my top 100 that I don't watch too often. The Killing Fields is one of them. The Killing Fields is ranked number 43 from 1984. It's really about the ethnic cleansing that went on in Cambodia. It's about the Khmer Rouge. It's about what they did in an effort to basically kill everybody who wasn't them. Sound familiar at all? You think that someone like Pol Pot can't exist anymore? The New York Times had a correspondent named Sidney Schanberg, and he was basically reporting what was happening. And he had a translator with him, someone by the name of Dith Pran. Dith Pran was responsible to be with the journalist, except when the Khmer Rouge really stepped it up, the Americans had to leave the country. Dith Pran didn't leave. Dith Pran then disappeared. And in real life, Sidney Schanberg, the columnist, spent time, played by Sam Waterston, endless time and years trying to find his person. And the way he eventually found him is that what Dith Pran did is the Khmer Rouge in their cleansing were looking for anyone who had any sort of intelligence, anyone who could do anything to potentially understand what was happening. If you were like that, you were dead. The only way to survive back then in the killing fields was to pretend you were an idiot, that you were simply a worker, a rice paddy worker. Dr. Heng S. Noor won an Academy Award playing Dith Pran. The reunion between them that happens, and it's not a spoiler alert because it's just important to watch the movie, is what happens when two people realize that they're in a world where you've got a dictator whose sole interest is in having everyone look like them, act like them, be like them, with the knowledge that they never will be any of those three. And if you think for 1 second that this doesn't happen, maybe in your backyard, and certainly to this day around the world, then you're just not paying attention. The killing fields is something that you say to yourself, there's no possible way that in 2025, anyone in the world would allow that. And then you take a trip to Africa. Then you take a trip to the United States of America, and you say to yourself, holy Christmas. How am I going to do a show talking about sports, culture, and entertainment when we live in a world that would permit this? It is the daily thing that makes me not sleep and gives me a stomachache, Coca, that I'm asking to you to be distracted with me for 50 minutes every day. as I know there are people in this world, A, not watching Nothing Personal, not caring about who's going to win the game today between the Pirates and the Marlins with the best pitching matchup, but they're solely concerned on making sure that they live in a world where if you have the philosophy of, hey, live and let live, then you can't live. I need a better movie next week. There isn't a better movie. Killing Fields is so good. Can we get the random number generator? Please give me something light from my top 100, even if you have to click the button twice, Coca. What am I watching this week? Do it. Do it. Oh, you did it on purpose? Did you do that on purpose, Coca? Are you kidding me? Sometimes life works out. I'm going to assume you hit the button multiple times to land on The Princess Bride, which is the perfect movie to watch after watching The Killing Fields. I assume that doesn't just happen that way. So thank you. In case we ever find a lady. Hello, lady. Wait till you hear my imitation next Thursday, Coca. Oh, God. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Jamie Lee Curtis's husband has 6 fingers in this movie. Princess Bride. Let's go to Beantown. Something happened yesterday that people in our world love. There was some talk about the Boston Celtics transaction. You recall the Boston Celtics are being sold to a group led by Bill Chisholm. Bill Chisholm, every time I read the name, it reminds me of Field of Dreams. And Coco will tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I believe one of the characters in Field of Dreams was last name Chisholm. I have no idea why that's in my head, and it may be wrong, but I don't think it is. But Bill Chisholm is basically buying the Celtics in a modernized 2-step process. He's buying it at one valuation, a percentage of the team, letting Wick, the current governor of the Celtics, stay, in something that the NBA tried not to do again. Then in a couple of years, Wick will go away, Chisholm will be the governor, and by the way, the last payment will value the team even higher. But here's the thing about the rules in the NBA. The governor of the team, the control person of the team, is an individual, and the individual has to have the largest stake of the team. No one can put in more money than that individual. When you have valuations of $7 billion for a team, you understand why everyone's going out and trying to get private equity funding as part of the acquisition deal. And of course, it came out that Sixth Street Partners was going to put $1 billion into the deal. And everyone said, that sounds perfect. Until you realize that Bill Chisholm himself was not going to put in $1 billion. That means that Sixth Street would actually hold a higher percentage of the partnership than the control person, and that doesn't work. That violates the NBA rule. So what do? Either you go out and get more investors to come into your group so you don't need the full $1 billion from private equity, or you yourself put in more money so that you've put in more than what the private equity firm has decided to put in. I promise you, Bill Chisholm is not writing a check for $1 billion. Keep in mind that the current owners of the Celtics are not going to receive the 6.3 or the 7.3 billion. That's the enterprise value. You have to take the debt away, and that's called the equity value, and that's the amount of money that gets given to the seller of a team. Would the NBA make an exception and allow a private equity firm to hold a larger percentage of the team than the governor of that team? Would they allow the possibility of a rule change? What do you think that Adam Silver has in mind with this Celtics transaction? What he has in mind is that you're not focused on the $1.5 billion deal that the Timberwolves did, that you are not focused on the $1.7 billion deal the Mavericks did, that you're focused on the rising tide of franchise valuations, and that there is a new record, and that record belongs not to an NFL team. regardless of what Forbes says teams are worth, but it belongs to an NBA team. A fully consummated transaction that puts a value on the team higher than the Commanders and Josh Harris's purchase of said team. If that means that Adam Silver has to bend a rule or amend a rule, let's say that the private equity firm owns 18% of the team and Bill Chisholm is only going to own 15% of the team. Think the NBA will make an exception? What if it's the private equity firm owning 25% and the individual owning 5%? Who's the governor? Would the NBA make an exception for that? My point is, when the NBA makes an exception to any time anyone makes an exception to a rule, you're making a mistake. The reason why I am so disciplined and strict about granting exceptions in a clubhouse, in a company, is that people misunderstand. He got an exception. Why can't I? He got that. Why can't she? And you end up spending a lion's share of your time, your expiring time, trying to keep track of who got what. Do you know what exceptions are in the business world? They're the lazy man's way out. Because you don't have to have a tough conversation. You don't have to figure out a workaround. You just say, I get it. We'll make an exception this time. I ask you, please, as you go about your day today, when you are either at home or at work, and you hear someone talk about an exception, because everyone talks about exceptions every day, see if you can't draw the line exactly to, wow, that seems lazy. The NBA is not lazy. So what would be another factor in an exception to this rule? Another factor is keeping the franchise valuations growing. So the NBA has an interesting decision to make. Do they actually change the rule in advance so that they don't have to make an exception for what's happening with the Celtics so that sort of transaction can go through? Or do you wait for the Celtics transaction to go through, wait for Chisholm to go before the league and the board of governors, and then say, we'll grant you this, but only if you have a plan to lower the private equity's investment in your team? We're not going to give you an exception to the rule. We'll give you time and runway to be in compliance of the rule. That's the second best thing you can do. This Celtics transaction is going to be interesting. Nothing personal pick of the day, presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. We've got a double dip today on opening day. We are going to start in the afternoon when the Boston Red Sox go into Texas and Garrett Crochet takes the ball as a minus 115 favorite over Nathan Eovaldi and the Texas Rangers. The Red Sox are looking to start their season in a positive way as they head toward a pennant. The nothing personal pick of the day is Crochet and the Red Sox over Eovaldi and the Rangers. The other nothing personal pick of the day presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Tarek Skubal is plus 154, according to odds, subject to change, over Blake Snell and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, those Dodgers who may go 162-0. But if you can get a Cy Young award-winning pitcher at plus 154 and you decide not to take him, then I'm not sure what you're doing. Skubal's not a 3 to 4 inning guy. This guy's going to see a 6 handle in his game. I'm looking for the Detroit Tigers to start the season with a win, and we're getting plus 154 for it. Those are your nothing personal picks of the day. We start the baseball season 10 games under 500, 24-34. It's almost impossible to believe what happened last night, Coca. It's impossible for me to believe that the Lakers were favored by 1.5 points when we did our show. And then when the game started, the Lakers were getting 0.5 point. And then when the game ended, the Lakers won by 1. So we had to win by 2 and we won by 1 on a last second tip by the King. So we end up losing while the Lakers win. Try threading that needle, Samson. LeBron has had a week, hasn't he? He had the groin injury. Now he's back. And for whatever reason, LeBron felt that this was the time. Right now, let me go on a show, the McAfee show, and let me talk about Stephen A. Smith. Let me talk about Bronny James. Let me talk about Michael Jordan. I was very interested and curious why LeBron would choose now. The Lakers are trying to figure out how to play with Luka. They're trying to figure out how good they're going to be. And it's not that you don't have time as a professional athlete to go on a podcast or a radio show or a TV show, but I always want to understand what the purpose is. What's the purpose of LeBron talking about his relationship with Michael Jordan right now? What's the purpose when you know and you agree to do an interview, you know a couple things are going to be talked about. 1, the GOAT debate. 2, Bronny James. 3, Stephen A. Smith. What else? Maybe they could say, hey, are you sad you didn't know about the Luka trade? But that trade now seems like so far in the distance, it's hard to even think about. And what he said was, hey, I'll tell you, I really don't have a relationship with Michael Jordan. And do people find that surprising? Do you think like superstars, even on the same team, have a relationship? You think A-Rod and Jeter are out there having donuts and crumpets and tea? You think that all of a sudden, just because 2 players are Japanese on a team, they're best friends? It doesn't actually work that way. Why would LeBron have a relationship with Michael Jordan? LeBron is out there trying to be better than Michael Jordan. He's trying to win more rings than Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan is highly incentivized for LeBron not to. They are competitors. I agree you can shake hand the way they do at the end of hockey series, and I love that. I agree that once the game ends, you're allowed to be friends, but I'm a Pat Riley guy through and through. When the game is being played, it's not your friend. Period. LeBron did say, when my career's over, maybe I'll have a relationship with MJ like I grew with Kobe, because Kobe and I weren't friends when I was a player. I don't know. Does it matter? Does it matter to you that LeBron James wants to explain why he defended his son to Stephen A. Smith and to all the critics of Bronny James? It pulls at your heartstrings, doesn't it? When LeBron talks about how he feels as a dad, what it was like to be on the court with his son, how he felt it was an out-of-body experience, where he says that we never even talked about it. I don't know. I've done some cool stuff with my son. I'll tell you one thing. We immediately talk about it, like immediately. But LeBron and Bronny haven't talked about the first game they played together. And LeBron wanted you all to make sure that for him, he views Bronny as deserving. He views Bronny as having worked hard and justified as being the draft pick that he was. And I looked at that and said, really? Come on, man. Why don't you wear it? Why don't you get on the show and say, obviously, I was involved in the Lakers drafting Bronny? Can you imagine how hard it is for Bronny to know that? It puts the Nep in autism, and I'm in. But Bronny, he's the perfect guy to let him take advantage of that because he works so hard and he's got a chance to be good and he's progressing and I'm proud of him and I love him. Nope. It was simply about the fact that his development has skyrocketed. This guy is a legit player. I would just as assume and rather that he went a different direction. But then he got to Stephen A. Smith, and that one made me smile. He called out Stephen A. Smith in such a way. That whole thing with the bluster of them meeting on the court and LeBron approaching him, and then Stephen A. saying, I'd beat him up, and then saying, nah, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have beaten him up. He would have beaten me up. Stephen A. Smith going on all the shows. I'm only doing it because they forced me. Come on, it's content heaven. For crying out loud, Skip Bayless made a living being a hater of Michael Jordan. People make a living. I make like an 80th of my living because you know my relationship with Derek Jeter. Terrible. People love it. For whatever reason, you're obsessed with this interpersonal stuff that goes on. It's almost like a soap opera that you can't stop watching, and it's got to be fed. The addiction exists in such a way that if there's not some sort of drama, it ends up making you feel like there's no relevance. What a world we live in, where you are required for us to perform in this way. You think that it was all performative? You think that LeBron and Stephen A. Smith know what they're doing as it relates to their relationship off the court? You think the NBA is disappointed? Sponsors are disappointed? I find all of it so ironic because everyone's actually doing the same thing. Everyone is focused on their own production company, their own ratings, their own followers, their own paycheck, their own flow of funds. And they should be, because it's their job. And we're going to give the people what they want. We're going to go full kinks. We're going to play the hits because LeBron, rightly so, looks right in the camera when he does media and says, it's just business. Happy opening day. This is nothing personal.